To date, the United States has reported more than 2,800 confirmed COVID-19 cases and at least 58 deaths. Election officials in Georgia have delayed the state's presidential primary set for March 24th until May 19th. And this follows Louisiana, which delayed its April 4th primary until June 20th. Meanwhile, the White House physician says President Trump has tested negative for coronavirus. This comes days after the president stood next to a Brazilian official who tested positive.
And it has been for some time. It remains really the biggest problem for the United States at the moment. There have been many reports that people who've been presenting with symptoms of coronavirus have been told that they can't get tested because there aren't test kits available. President Trump earlier today said that he would be making available 5 million kits.
For many Venezuelans, the border with Colombia is a lifeline for surviving the economic crisis in their nation. But on Saturday, Colombia's President Iván Duque announced its closure to contain the spread of COVID-19.
The border crossings with Venezuela will be closed starting at 5 a.m. It will be done as a protection measure against the situation that is also occurring in the neighboring country.
On Friday, Venezuela confirmed 2 cases of coronavirus. But many fear that number could be higher as the country struggles with a humanitarian crisis that has left hospitals without basic supplies, including soap and hand sanitizer.
Japan's Prime Minister today insisted the country continues to prepare to host the Olympic Games this summer. That's despite the fast spreading coronavirus pandemic.
Fireworks in January heralded the return of the Olympic rings to Tokyo. But now, with just months left, the fear is the Games won't even begin. The new national stadium is meant to be the grand centerpiece and venue for the opening and closing ceremonies. Now, this stadium was rebuilt from the old National Stadium at a cost of $1.4 billion. This was, in fact, the site of the 1964 Tokyo Olympics. It can hold about 68,000 people, but that may never happen. That's because mass gatherings around the world are getting canceled.
Idlib is a city in ruins, much like the rest of the country around it. The city in the northwest of the country is the latest victim of a war that has been going on for 9 years. Everything began in March 2011 in Daraa in the south. Teenagers are arrested for writing anti-Bashar Assad graffiti. Protests erupt, calling for their release and democratic reforms. Security forces open fire on protesters. Very quickly, demonstrations spread nationwide. The country descends into civil war. The Syrian regime uses chemical weapons against rebel soldiers. The international community is divided. China, Iran and Russia support Assad's regime. The Islamic State group takes advantage of the chaos. It declares a caliphate in Syria and in Iraq at the end of June 2014. The conflict intensifies. Russia sends troops into Syria and bombs several towns.
Луганськ – це! Зрости мене до ясних чинів! Зрости мене до ясних чинів! Чинахти, хай знайдує смерть! Чинахти, хай знайдує смерть! Солодку смерть у муках за тебе! І розплинуся в тобі! Та вічно житиму в тобі!
Wild rabbits cost Australian farmers just over $200 million a year. Rabbit numbers are on the rise all over the southwest. The existing Khaleesi virus, called K5, has been getting released since 2017, but a new strain called RHDV2 could soon be available.
We're waiting with bated breath to get a new tool in the pocket for rabbit control. At the moment, we've got the K5 and that's fantastic, but as soon as we have access to that RHDV2 virus, I think we'll have even more success.
RHDV2 was discovered in Australia in 2015, and just how it got here is still unknown. But scientists are studying its deadly spread. The Centre for Invasive Species Solutions is working to register the strain as a biological control against rabbits from 2023.
It has taken Helen Barraza a month to get 4 pints of blood from a government hospital so she can start her cancer treatment. She was recently diagnosed with cervical cancer and travelled to Nairobi from Western Kenya to begin radiation therapy sessions. Doctors told her she needed more blood, but the hospital did not have it. Neither was it possible for people to donate because the National Transfusion Center was short of screening agents. In September last year, the US government withdrew funds that almost entirely paid for government blood services in Kenya. With no donor money, the health ministry appears to be struggling to sustain blood donation programs, screening, as well as paying staff members in centers across the country. Government officials say the problem is being resolved, but now the police are also investigating claims that some health workers are selling the little blood available to hospitals in Somalia.
Following in the footsteps of its Mediterranean neighbour Italy, Spain has initiated a nationwide lockdown as it grapples with rising cases of coronavirus infections. Under the decree, 46 million Spaniards must stay at home unless they are going to buy food or medicine or to go to work or the hospital. The 15-day plan will see public transport curtailed, with services cut by half, and all trains, planes and buses only allowed to be a third full. Employers must also allow those who can to work remotely, and the country's courts will be suspended. The government also reserves the right to ration supplies and requisition factories and buildings, apart from private homes. The restrictions will come into effect at 8 AM on Monday morning.
All right, another news now. And after human rights activists launched a campaign to create greater international awareness about the plight of Balochis in Pakistan, the British government has said that they were aware of the presence of mass graves in Balochistan. The UK Minister of State Affairs at the Foreign and Commonwealth Office and the Department of International Development, Nigel Adams, has said, and I quote, "We are aware of reports of mass graves in Kuzdar, Turbat and Dera Bugti in Balochistan. These would be of deep concern to the British government." He further said that the British government regularly raises its concerns about human rights at the highest level of the government of Pakistan. Now, political activists, experts and European Parliament have raised the issue of worsening human rights situation in Balochistan at the 43rd session of the Human Rights Council in Geneva.